If I add any more episodes to my podcast, I may speak a little bit on what I'm doing in some other podcast. Um, because if you haven't noticed, if you've been paying attention, so if you look at the podcasts, they kind of almost parallel each other, but I don't know. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make this episode. I want to make this one short because I want to finish this podcast up and leave the rest for research, if that makes sense. Um, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go. I'm gonna finish this episode. I'm gonna go fill out the paperwork that I need to fill out. Make my petition, my request known to the government with the official form that they provide. With a copy of my last one. It wasn't so official, but it wasn't invalid either. Congress. I sent it to Congress. So, um, it was a valid petition for redress. It was valid. So I've already sent in a petition for redress. So I'm just going to attach it to the official form and fill out what questions I need to fill out. But that podcast is one of activism that serves as a way to bring awareness to the public that you can stand for your constitutional freedoms and you have promises in the Constitution that you can stand for with your civil liberties as well. So after I do all that, I think I'm going to feel a little bit better. And for this podcast too, I'm also addressing it to President Biden because I think maybe you might find this story a bit interesting. Maybe not, but the life after death bit. Because I do. And I want everybody to know that it's not over when you die. It's not over. I want everybody to know that. That's not what I see, and that's what I want to make. That's what this episode is about. And so I'm gonna make this episode, and then as soon as I can, I'm gonna go to the Social Security Administration to get written proof of the right that I know I have under the ADA, and then I'm gonna go to school and take out a loan. As I fill out the federal student loan botch 2024 2025 FAFSA, yeah, because no disabled student should be granted a TP discharge and told that they can go back to school and receive loans and then fill out paperwork with their physician that in all legality disqualifies them from benefits. So I need to get that promise on paper from Social Security Administration that if I fill out that application that I bring in and show them and say, see SSA, see Secretary Cardona, this is wrong. I'm going to get that note. And then I'm going to apply and receive a loan. Or are the funds going to secretly run out for just David Johnson? Am I going to be selectively persecuted by the U.S. government? Nope, there's still plenty left. There's plenty for everybody right now. Because how many had their loans discharged automatically? And then guess what those students have to do that were disabled? As long as their information is current in the system, they get their loans discharged. They have to disqualify themselves if they want another one, and it was done for them. It's done for them. So now they're like, well, I've got to DQ myself from SSD. You know? I mean, that's what it means to sustain, to have a doctor say that you're capable of sustaining substantial gainful activity. So, that's just a note on my last podcast. This one, I want to keep short because it's an, I don't want to say an end to this podcast, but the rest of the episodes will be for research purposes. So, but I also want to leave snippets in each podcast so that you can actually go and, you know, maybe be curious about some of my own, you know, other podcasts if you would like, because I'm trying to share my experience. This isn't just one necessarily one subject or another. I mean, they're podcasts, so it's kind of a me thing, you know. It's my project, is what I mean, not selfish. What I mean is this is a podcast. Okay, so defined by me, however I want to do it, I guess. But I'm trying to stay on topic, is what I'm saying. So that picture that I snapped of my father is what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the quantum, and I want to talk about life after death. That picture that I also keep showing of the aliens that I drew, that's a picture that I snapped. And the reason why I snapped that picture behind my shoulder like this is because I accidentally snapped a picture of my father looking back at me from behind, staring straight at me in the window. Okay? In a window that was 2 stories up, by the way, and there was no ledge or nothing. Okay, my father was right there behind the window, or actually in the window, in the glass, looking at me. Okay? At least photons. So, and I don't see these beings as mimics, and maybe some of them are. And it would be completely ignorant to say that there's not multiple species out there here visiting Earth. It would be totally ignorant. Because it's like saying you know everything, you know? I mean, that's just my personal opinion, but I'm not trying to be mean to somebody that would say that, but where I'm going with this is I know what I saw, and I want to explain why I don't see them as a mimicry species, because the first time I said I want to know what you guys are, okay? Because I started recording all these voices, and like I said, I had over 200 recordings. I said, can you please show me what you are? I just want to know. I've done it since then, and I haven't seen them since, but they did show me that one time. It was almost like a once is enough, there was your answer. You know, like, kind of thing. This is the way it almost seems to me, because but I've asked them to just show themselves to me before, but they're not beings that perform parlor tricks. Okay, they've got their own will, you know. They're gonna show up or not, you know. I mean, some others have it figured out differently, or maybe a different relationship with these beings, you know, or other beings, like Dr. Stephen Greer, you know. Dude summons them from outer space, not summons, but, you know, hey, you know, come visit me, you know, and they come. It's real. He's not joking. He's not full of shit. That's real. That's real. How do I know? Because I've had experiences. So I've told stories here about craft. So I know that what they're seeing and what they're recording is real, you know, and I know that the pictures that he's snapping of these ETs are real, or has snapped, because I've done it too. Dr. Stephen Greer's situation is not completely unique. It's very fascinating, though. because the beings look similar. They really do. They look similar. The ones he sees look like the ones that I've seen, except they've got bigger heads. They seem to have bigger heads or maybe bigger bodies, but that's about it. They look similar. Probably a different species, who knows? None of them are evil, though. I don't think. I mean, you may have some that are maybe rebellious, and what I've seen is that there's evidence out there that there are just different species, guys. Dr. Greer knows what he's talking about. It's not. It's not delusional. Neither am I on this subject, because there's some phenomena I'm engaging in, is what I'm saying. Okay, it may not be as great as gathering evidence as Dr. Greer is, but I don't save it anymore as much, and I don't, I haven't even listened to those EVP sessions that I recorded, but I know the voices are probably there. I'm just so used to them that I just don't. If I really want to actively engage with them, I will. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to listen to these recordings, but this podcast is about life after death. This episode is actually. Because when we walk through space-time, and this was originally dismissed by physicists, I believe that it was dismissed originally, but I personally believe, and the idea is coming back. People are looking and they're like, So when we walk, we perpetuate through space-time. I developed this hypothesis when I was 8. Let me see, 2018 I started developing it. But it was because of my knowledge of these beings, or how they communicate, and how they've appeared to me has given me just ideas and thoughts. It's kind of like when you communicate with them, you're able to see evidence of. You're able to piece together like a puzzle in your mind how things could work, and then you grow to know that they probably aren't working in any other way, if that makes sense. Like, I want to say wormholes, I want to say string theory. There is a growing body of evidence that shows that I'm correct, that the past and the future are dark matter. And I say that because scientists are out there looking and they're saying, what is that effect out there? What is that impact out there that seems to that great amount of mass, but the greater mass is dark energy, evidently. Or Unspunkenergie, however you say that in German. Or 0-point energy. And it's almost described as virtual space, kind of like it seems. And it is described as I thought it was. The universe. Something or nothing is always something. Nothing, pure nothingness is something. I've known that for a while. I've said it here. And here's why. Because time-space is kind of virtual like that. That wave function collapse when it comes to entanglement, I do believe is local and non-local. And that's what completes string theory. I believe there are tendrils of a universe densely packed full of white holes, okay? And just engaging can open a wormhole. You make that quantum connection with the universe around you. That's why I kept on posting the plasma ball, because that's how I see it. That's how I see the universe. I'm seeing it. I'm seeing space in my head. Like I'm seeing the fabric of it. I'm seeing how it works in my head. like Einstein did. I'm not comparing. I'm not saying I'm as intelligent as him, but all I know is I see what I see, and I see it in my head, and he's right, Einstein. But I think one thing that I especially want to point out that he's right about is he says, when you look at the moon, is it not there? When you not look at it, do you still think it's not there? Einstein's correct. And scientists that say that, in my opinion, that say the universe is not locally real, they are incorrect. Completely incorrect. They are partially correct. The universe is locally real. And it's at the same time non-real locally because of engagement, like those tendrils. Essentially, the universe should be densely packed full of wormholes. There is a galactic transit system all around us right now. Because the way I see space is as it was infinitely small, it's always been infinitely massive. And every point essentially has crossed itself from the beginning. If you can think about it like that, it's interconnected, quantumly entangled. If you can think about a small connection. Now imagine it large. That's the universe. What this means is that every single point in time-space is connected already. That means you can go anywhere. I solved time travel. I did. And one day, I'll be proven correct. I don't know if I'll live to see it. If I succeed at my aspirations, I will. And that brings me back to the topic of life after death. Okay, so because it is quantum, so there's two ways to get there, I do believe, naturally, to the quantum. So you perpetuate through time-space. My hypothesis originally stated as perpetual coexistence. Perpetual coexistence. Meaning the past, present, and future are all one. So we perpetually coexist. And what I mean by that is, let's say I walk, okay? I walk. Think of tracers following me. Now, what do you think 0-point energy is? It's virtual. Here it is, right here. But it's also dark matter. It's dark matter. Dark matter is it's the evidence of the mass, if you want to think of it that way, of the past and the future, in my personal opinion. And 0-point energy is like a symptom. 0-point energy, or dark energy, or the expansion of the universe that's ever accelerating, I do believe it's all I mean, it's all matter. You know, it's still in some way it's matter. You know, all of it. You know, it's energy. You know. Dark energy I see as a result of local and non-local mass that's eternal. So of course it may be the greatest force. With so much mass acting on the fabric of space-time. I suspect if I'm not completely correct, I'm partially correct. That's okay with me. That's why they call it a hypothesis. I'm not stating it as fact. But what I'm getting to is the quantum data. Okay, so whether it be past or future, okay, if you think about it, it's still the same thing. It would be like tracers. So if my head just explodes right now, okay, it's probably not a great example, but I'm saying that that quantum state should still exist. Okay, it should still it should still exist. So like me popping out of my body right now, like Casper the Ghost. Okay, not a fan of the word ghost, but imagine that. I hypothesize that every waking state, every state of ours is conscious. Is conscious. So it's like from this point, I should be a conscious neural network that is conscious outside of my body in every state, forever moving. And I want to design humanity to take advantage of that and open wormholes with our own bodies and craft our minds. Rapid transportation, rapid evasion, rapid maneuverability by thought, opening a wormhole, perfect recall of memory, the digital signature, quantum signature, the anti-frequency. So I hypothesize there are two ways to get to an afterlife. That, but I'm not saying it's a good option to go I think we should go naturally, not just say, oh hey we figured it out, hey, the life after death, let's just all do something that we shouldn't be doing. No, well, no, what I'm saying is live your life, because I think afterwards there's something, but I don't think it's the pearly gates. I don't think so. I think it's going to be like coming out of the fishbowl. And you can get there artificially, but it's only a delay. But natural is probably the best state. Let's say a human that was immortal were to die in an explosion or something. They may have backup copies. The plan is complete immortality, to be able to transverse space-time. I'm talking like there's always going to be a backup of you in the cloud somewhere if you die. And you might say, hey, here's 10 copies of me, So, if I succeed, we will all be immortal and invincible forever. Unless we get caught somewhere and we get obliterated somehow, all of our copies, but even then, natural quantum state. With the same data preserved, it could say, hey, if I like that state better, I'm just going to go recreate it. The possibilities are endless. The universe is conscious. So there's nothing wrong with mankind advancing to the point that they say, we want to extend our lifespan by becoming not just flesh and blood, but better than flesh and blood. Flesh and blood 2.0. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with us advancing our technology and creating and I want to be careful when I say this. I think we need to develop AGI, And when we do so, we need to base it off of our own human neural construct. We need our own neurology, our own brains, our brain. I want to scan my brain and start there. And I have ideas for completing a scan or gaining a perfect scan. And there's other technology out there, it's improving. But I'm talking quantum. I'm talking a quantum scan from a quantum computer and comparing models to complete the scan and perfect the scan and correct the scan. Correct the brain model to be burned correctly into like a diamond quantum substrate with a more dense logarithmic neurostructure, if that makes sense. We'll be more intelligent. And I aim to correct genetic anomalies the same way, same exact way. Model comparison. A quantum computer. So I just told the scientific world, well, I mean, these are my other people have similar ideas, but my design, if anybody wants to replicate my design, they need my permission, because this is based off this is literary copyright now. So what I describe is so I feel novel that you would need my permission to patent off of my design, my mind, my idea, my literary work here. So, any scientists out there that see this, ask permission first. Because what I want to do is I want to create that platform for us to kind of upload ourselves into. That'll be the Q brain. So the first generation, I mean, they may be like synthetic androids, kind of, or look like that, you know. But the market's already monopolized. I mean, there's several industries. I mean, I guess the market is, I mean, it's saturated. So, do I stand a chance? I think my ideas do. I think my individual endeavor does, and people working in the field are getting older, more tired. There's room for everybody. I think inevitably, if my ideas are great ideas, and if the world can see that I'm correct about the risk, and that my process may be more suitable, then I think this is the way to go. I do. I mean, I think I'm nervous about partnering with corporations, but that's not what this episode is about. But anyway, it goes so, and the government too. It's about life after death, and what I'm saying, yeah. Don't be so confused or convinced of what you think you hear on a recording, is what I'm saying. Like, first off, these beings are under no obligation to be your friend. So just think about it real is what I'm saying. Like, what if they were like humans? Just put yourself in their shoes. In other words, so say you're a Christian and they know the Bible isn't real, okay? And you call them a demon, or you look at this episode and say that I'm full of shit. Then they come and show you that I'm not, or that they are not what you think they are, is what I'm saying, because it's happened to me. You can pray all you want, you can throw the Bible out of them, and they will kick you out of your house, man. It's happened to me. Okay? So, be nice to these beings if you ever talk to them. And they're not demons. They're not demons. And Jesus isn't going to save you. Trust me. Not to bash anybody's religion, but this is my podcast, and this episode's about life after death. So there. I think when we wake up and we have the conscious experience of being unconscious physically, it feels like death, you know, because I've been there. There are things I don't want to say about it, and not bad things, but the best option is to stay alive here, and then move on naturally, is what I'm saying. Don't ever look at my videos and say, oh, there's a life after death. Okay, see ya. Don't do that. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Because the thought crosses my mind, and we're here for a reason. We're here for a reason. Because the universe just is. And that's just, it's eternal. And it never was anything more than that. There never was a beginning. There never will be. There'll never be an end. Because it's not, it's nature. And to think so, I call fishbowl mentality. Because where did you get that information? Did the universe tell you? Did God come down on the cloud and tell you? Got 10 different Bibles that told billions of people different things, right? It's all bullshit, people. It's all bullshit. But I do believe there's life after death. And I don't think there's anything wrong with becoming an advanced species. So advanced that you turn yourself into quantum data. Maybe, since we are the past, and I've seen that, we did that and came to the precipice of real death and said, oh, okay, there's nothing to fear, and just let go. We literally built our way to artificial death, if that makes sense, and then just died. And we were like, oh, that's what there was. That's what I think.